Okay. So, I guess now my next plan is to sort of talk about the um I did a little bit of cognitive bias and now I'm doing I guess talking about cognitive distortions. Um and I guess the first one, so like there's a couple of them that I really want to talk about because um all or nothing, black and white, this kind of like holy shit, Galio's huge. This sort of like mindset that is um how long is this game? 30 minutes. I can do it. Two times speed, 15 minutes. Um but we're just gonna kind of go down the list of the like the pamphlet. If you like, I get you get this handed out to you when you're doing like CBT and all this other stuff. It's from Therapist Aid, and it's just this list of cognitive distortions. And it says cognitive distortions are irrational thoughts that shape how you see the world, how you feel, and how you act. It's normal to have these thoughts occasionally, but they can be harmful when frequent or extreme. So the first one on the list is magnification and minimization. Exaggerating or minimizing the importance of events. You might believe your own achievements are unimportant or that your mistakes are excessively important. They kind of goes in line with disqualifying the positive. I mean, there's a lot that goes into each other, but like um, it's honestly a pretty good topic to talk about. If you watched the last video that mentioned the differences in positive and negative mentality and how we think. So we as humans and in general people, and this is like not like consistent, but like in general, oh my god, I didn't see that happen in the game. In general, we tend to overestimate the positives for ourselves and then overestimate the negatives for others. So what that means is that like if I were to see if I see myself pick um let's say I pick Ambessa into Renekton, I'm positive. I have this like positive mentality for myself that like, yeah, I can totally play into the Renekton as the Ambessa. But if I see someone lock in Ambessa into a Renekton matchup, I might think to myself, is this person like stupid? Like this is like an unwinnable matchup. They're just gonna lose. So like in on one hand, I'm very very confident and overconfident in myself because I think that you don't even have to know how to play Renekton to beat Ambessa on it. But if it's I'm very overconfident in this uh, thing that doesn't really need to have my confidence. Um, and then the next part of it is exaggerating or minimizing the importance of your events. Um, so what can that look like? Is let's say uh, that I do something really great, and to me, it's like the greatest thing on earth. Um, but in reality, it's not that incredible. It's as normal and natural as anything else in my life. But to me, the importance of that event is while it may be insignificant, to me it's important. And for whatever reason, that ends up being something that I like latch onto, and it doesn't allow me to look with a more rational kind of point of view. Um, so it's this distortion where we focus in on one thing and then we because we played well. Like let's say we're trying to coach this game because I won this game. I don't see a reason to coach it. Um, and that's just not true because you should be able to look at a game and recognize what you do or don't need to improve on, uh, based on the way that you play, not based on the outcome. That's uh, results based versus process, results oriented versus process oriented. And then you minimize your mistakes. Like maybe you lost this game, but you sit there and you think to yourself, oh, well, it wasn't my fault. It's not my fault that I lost this game because I did everything right. And, if you looked at this game, perhaps you maybe didn't do everything right. You may have, you may be minimizing the fact that this game could have been performed a little bit better on your end. Um, so that's I guess two examples, and this is like if you have trouble, it's like magnifying and minimizing. It's like you have a pair of binoculars and you focus in on one end, and then you're like, okay, yeah, I can see this, but you don't see the rest of certain things around you that maybe give you context or more information. And if you flip it around, well, now you can't see much at all, and you're like, well, so it's like that's the concept of magnifying minimization, put into I guess a practical real world without any kind of mental uh, kind of stuff going on. Uh, so we often don't magnify these positive scenarios the way that I had said though. And maybe you do. Maybe you think to yourself, I'm this great player. I've got great hands. I can fucking diff this guy in lane. This person's Yasuo. He's diffing me on farm and all this stuff. And maybe he thinks to himself he's great. But we often tend to magnify the negative mistakes, um, and then in the same sense, we tend to uh, minimize the positives. So this is similar to discarding or disregarding the positive. Very, very like they coincide with each other. There's a lot of overlap with these cognitive distortions, if you can believe that. Surprisingly, the overlap in our brains and all their squiggles and wrinkles uh, is very, let's say, can be a good model. um, but these are often inaccurate, and how they work is they affect our thought patterns, they affect our emotions, um, they affect all of our like thoughts, like everything to do with how you maybe see and feel and think. Um, and the idea is to recognize when you have these thought patterns and distortions in your life so that you don't make them a habit. If you have a piece of paper next to you, a really good exercise, just this is a tactile learning exercise, is to fold this piece of paper in half, fold it in half again, fold it in half one more time, now fold it in half one last time. Um, Actually, the tactile experience is the fact that there needs to be a time limit. So let's say, let's say I'm timing you to fold this piece of paper. Um, so it's like on your mark, get set, go. Um, and your goal is to fold the paper in half 8 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, or 4 times. Sorry. Boom, 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 boom. Now, if I were to, it doesn't have to be perfect, but do your best. And then like if I were to tell you to stop, and with that same piece of paper, I'm gonna time you, and I want you to do the exact same thing again. Do you think it's gonna take you longer or shorter amount of time to get that piece of paper folded 4 times in a row? And the obvious answer is it's going to be shorter. And that's because we've already developed a plan. We've already developed these patterns and wrinkles in our brain that are sort of an automatic response. It's habitual for us to lean on these processes that we have had ingrained into us from a young age, and it's very hard for us to recognize them until someone really brings them up and shows them to you. Um, but we all have the ability to change them. Um, there's a quote, I don't and it goes it's because we're talking about the topic of like the fact that this stuff can be changed. So the quote is, a lifetime of organic learning uh, can be overwritten by like a certain amount of intentional learning, right? Like this is like, you may have organically played League of Legends and done the like the bare minimum of like, I'm gonna lock in Heimerdinger and just put my turrets up top and I'm never gonna interact with my laner. You could do that for a lifetime, and you could be bronze. You could be whatever rank you're at. Or let's say that now you're saying, I want to get better, and how do you get better? Well, Um, Depending, you have to make a couple of changes. Um, and as long as you're intentional about that, your organic habits will go away. I had to actually do this in Rocket League. I was like, I don't remember when I switched. I might have been gold or plat when I first made my switch, but I switched my controls so that I could actually use my air roll and my flip while still up there, like so that my on two different fingers. So like my boost was changed. Like I changed controls, and it's the same thing. Like you may have played League of Legends with the same settings, but like turns out that there's probably some more. There's different settings that are optimal for you to use. And that's just a matter of like, hey, I had an organic, like a lifetime of organic learning in League, where now I could probably change that with some intentional practice and intentional methods to fix it. Um, so that's just one of those things that like, you might have this habit of playing with a locked screen, but you could probably fix that by switching. And it's going to be hard. Change is never easy. Um, so that's just something that like I guess is probably really important to say, is that change is not easy, but you do have the ability to change. Um, so you can another thing that we maybe say. So there's minimization, we could call it like disregarding the positive, but it's a little bit different. And magnifying, we can call very similarly to catastrophizing. So blowing things out of proportion. I'm sure we've all heard that. I'm sure maybe we've done that before. um, and it's my bot lane's 0-3, this is the end of the world, I can't do anything. But that's probably not the case. For me, that was not the case. My top laner and everyone is not. But like, I've had games where like, you know, it, some people might just take it and go, well, this game's over, and then they don't play the way that they need to actually find a successful uh, outcome for their game. Um, so like any small mistake that maybe someone else makes, or maybe even you make, um, you might think to yourself, this is going to be the end of this game. Like I already like inted away this part of the game, but that's probably not the case. I mean, losing a small amount of gold or experience or whatever you lost is probably not going to be the end all for your game. And getting outside of this kind of mindset is, ultimately like what I want for everyone to be able to have. It's very, very hard. Like, let's say, um, and again, like I want to better plan these, but I think that like starting with like terrible videos is a good way for me to start actually making um, progress and actions in what I do. Um, because otherwise, I'll just sit back and not do anything. So thank you for bearing with me. Um, it's very it's very human. I think everything that's happening. I think that um, we often deal with this stuff on a lot smaller levels, but it's very easy to recognize it in those smaller levels compared to the big ticket items in our lives. For me personally, I tend to over exaggerate a lot of the things in my life pertaining to being a father. And I'll try to maybe, let's say, I minimize, I catastrophize over the mistakes I make, and I minimize the achievements I have as a father. And I think that if I was able to better cope with these skills through gaming or a different hobby in my life, maybe I would have a better chance and a better mentality when it comes to being a father. Because now that I'm starting to better implement, you know, thought patterns and changes to my thought in my gaming and in my real world, like I think everything is just getting a lot better. So like common things like if you have depression or anxiety, like I think that like We all tend to come out of these. And the big thing to recognize with them is that they stem from being irrational. They're cognitive distortions. They are not rational or logical thinking. It is all irrational. And it's you're just, I guess, attempting to make it so that you're not constantly um, succumbing to that pre-made process that your brain has made. Um, I think another way to like say an example without folding a piece of paper. Let's say that there is a dirt path on a road. Not even like a big one. Let's say this, right? So clearly there is a path right here. Um, but someone has been walking on this dirt path. That is a single action that is, let's say that this was you. You made this action and now there's a small dirt path. Well, now your brain says, well, yeah, there's two paths here, but why don't I just take this dirt path because it's, it looks better to me because it's quicker. Like, yeah, this path is already here and it's like stable and it's proper. It's the right channel to use. But this one is just, it goes right to my car. Like, this one looks really good. Well, on one hand, yeah, but who knows? Maybe at the end of the day, you're going to be stuck on r/landscaping as, how do I fix this? Like, this is your brain doing an action that it should not be doing over and over and over again to the point where you probably don't even step on this part of the path anymore. You're just always parking and walking in there. So at a certain point, you need to fucking get off your ass and start planting seed. And saying, hey, let's not walk across this. Let's take 8 extra steps to go around. And sometimes it does feel like 8 extra steps. Maybe not physically, but mentally 8 steps and roundabout thinking. But this is the path you want to take, not this dirt path that your brain has started creating as a shortcut or a reliance, because it's not proper, it's not good. It's it's probably not doing you any good than this path that's already set up that is looks a little bit safer. I think that if you had to run across either of these, this one would be a little bit wet and muddy and you'd slip. This one seems like maybe you could actually run across it and not slip. But that's another visual example of I guess pathways and our reliance on shortcuts and some cognitive distortions. Yeah. Anyway, thank you.